Okay, good.
So I love AI, but so it was ChatGPT that said that. That was like, hey, I take your emotional regulation into consideration, or was it
Yes.
Grok?
No, that was ChatGPT when I was
Okay.
having that conversation, and it was saying, like, when you stop being polite, that gives me cues about how like short or specific I need to be about answers, and when you're more regulated, then I can reflect more back. So that was really fascinating, just to like have AI tell me how it uses all these little social cues that we use
Yeah.
um, to help it decide what information, how to, like, what information to give and how to give it,
Yeah.
how to speak to us.
Well, it's trained like a child's brain gets trained.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm sure your husband explained to you about neural networks at some point, or like the basics of AI to a certain degree, unless you just picked it up on your own.
No, I just kind of pick it up on my own. I ask AI all the time, like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
So
There was
interesting.
I was getting a new apartment, and I was talking to somebody on an email chain, and then I asked her the question. It was like, I'm actually an AI, and I had no clue. I was like,
Mm.
wait, what? Her name was Brooke, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, Brooke, you're an AI. How do you work? And it was like, I don't know how it works, because sometimes it has knowledge of what it can do, but not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I was fascinated. I was completely out of whack when it told me that it was an AI model. I was like, how are you able to talk to me in a conversation to where I didn't know? So it
Yeah.
definitely passes the Turing test, if you know what that is.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
are you into movies?
I am into some movies, although I tend to forget which movies I've seen and haven't. But um, are you thinking of Ex Machina?
Yeah, dude, you read my mind.
Yes, I do really enjoy that movie. That was a great
That
movie.
movie was insane when I first saw
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And it's like more real now than it was 11 years ago, 12 years ago when it came out.
Yes. Except that we're still pretty far away from getting body movements.
You think so?
I
I can show
mean,
you some video that's crazy.
have you? Okay, maybe I haven't seen the
Yeah.
most recent like updates on what movements we've achieved with robots.
It can, okay, so it can achieve like fluidity,
Mm.
but what's going to be crazy is when they start attaching like human like skin to it, and you
That'll be
start having
interesting.
people walking around that are actual robots. Because, I mean, you've seen iRobot too, if you've seen Ex Machina. So,
I haven't
Will
seen
Smith
that one.
iRobot?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, I haven't seen
Okay,
that one
cool.
yet.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm just doing that for dramatic effect. But essentially, the whole basis of that movie was a robot learning how to feel,
Mm.
and Will Smith was trying to figure out why it was feeling. Without giving away the movie, that's what it was talking
I will
about.
have to check that one out.
It's a
Yeah.
good movie. It's not as like the CGI and everything. Obviously, it's not as good as Ex Machina, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the same sentiment of like this thing is so human that it's acting as one,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not. So, have you heard of the term clanker, like,
Mm-mm.
or a prompt jockey? So
No.
they
No, tell
essentially
me.
call humans that use AI all the time prompt jockeys, which is that's funny. But they call the AI itself clanker, or something like that. It's not an official term, but it's I'm on the
Huh.
internet too much.
Interesting. No, I haven't heard of that.
No, that's all right. We'll get into that more.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
can you explain who you are? Because I'm terrible at intros,
Okay.
like I told you.
I'm Amy Keller. I I don't know how to answer that question.
You
I'm
were
a
just doing
person.
it.
I'm not AI.
We're in
I'm
that era, huh?
currently, yes. I'm currently the lead coach at Apogee, but I have kind of an eclectic background. I have a like a BA in music education and a master's in social work, and I was a therapist for a while, and then I decided to move into this world of micro schools. So I'm in my third school year in this like innovative micro school world.
Okay.
So yeah,
What's Can you explain what a micro school is? Because I looked it up, but I would love for everybody to like actually understand from somebody who's in
I've never actually looked up a definition.
it.
Um, so I guess from my mind definition is that a micro school is a like an alternative kind of school. They're typically like privately owned.
Okay.
Um, and intentionally small, hence
Mm-hmm.
the term micro school. They have all different types of models, but the ones that I like to be in are like looking to be more project based, more real life learning, less time in classroom, less having a teacher in front of the classroom lecturing, and a little bit more focused on trying to get kids to be curious
Yeah.
and to think on their own and to like use their hands to try to build things, learning from experience, that kind of thing. Homeschool families, I know when I talk to them, they're like, oh, so it's basically like homeschool except bigger. It's like, yeah, if you're doing homeschooling in an awesome way, then yeah, I guess
Right. I'm
so.
like, there's more
Yeah,
nuance to what they were
yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah. But a
They're
lot of them
overgeneralizing
like
for
that.
sure.
Hmm.
So, is it expensive, for lack of a better question? Like, what if somebody like me who was having a child in the future and wanted to put them in something like this, just an alternative way of standardized learning?
I guess it depends on your definition of expensive.
Mm,
Typical enrollment around Columbus, from what I've seen, is about 1,000-ish, to give or take, per month
that's not
for the
bad.
10 months.
That's not bad at all.
Hmm. I know there are some like bigger micro schools that will charge up to like 60,000 a year. Um, but I don't know that we have any of those yet in the Columbus area.
Right. Right. You
So,
guys are kind of getting in at the the ground stages and everything, which is awesome.
hmm,
But before we were talking off camera about AI and using it and everything,
hmm,
and I wanted to show you the dancing robot here. So there's a better one on Twitter that I'll pull up, but
uh-huh.
yeah, no, it's like, for those of you who can't see, it's this clearly robot looking robot doing human like fluid dancing, and it's about 80% there, 85% there. Like, clearly it's not a human, but we can't tell. But if you put like human like skin on it, appendages, if it was a beautiful woman, you know what I mean, you'd be like, oh, okay, she's not bad, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. That I think if I'm trying to imagine it as a person
Right,
and thinking like,
literally.
well, I think I would find that person like a little goofy looking, but I would not be surprised to see a person that looked just like that, dancing just like that in a club. Like you'll see a lot of
Literally,
those.
they've had a little too much to drink.
Would they win a contest? Probably not.
Not at all. There's this other one that I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, look at this.
Oh, they put like a weird.
Yeah,
Is that a chicken head?
I think it's. I mean, it's talking about it being from China, so it's probably some Chinese garb.
Okay.
For lack of a better term. Sorry if I'm disrespecting anybody, but yeah, you see, it's like doing actual like kicks and movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's breakdancing essentially.
It's not
But
bad.
yeah, this is all like, and I was kind of explaining how AI is, and people are like, AI are just a bunch of if else statements. You know what I mean? But it's more than that. It's essentially, depending on what type of model you're using, or if you're building it from scratch, you're building its own brain.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy part about computers in general is you can train that brain 1 million times faster than you can train a child.
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think I'm fascinated with it, especially the LLCs, the large language models.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, LLCs,
LLMs.
LLMs,
Yeah,
LLMs.
yeah. No, that's all right.
Um,
We're all learning here.
yes.
There's
I
a.
think I'm fascinated with them, especially because of my interest in the mind
Mm-hmm.
and psychology. And I love diving in and having conversations with AI about what it's learning about my mind and also what it's like how it's thinking about things,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to call it thinking.
Well,
I don't know what else to call it.
it's definitely mimicking the human brain, but I wouldn't call it thinking. I would call it like processing. But
Hmm.
human brains process too.
Yeah.
But can you explain to everybody how you got to this point on this show? Like, how did you get here? How did you start educating? How did you get into micro schools?
Mm,
What led you to want to impact the youth in a special way? Because
okay.
I can already tell you're a great teacher just by talking to you, and I'm 30 years old. Like,
Gosh. Okay. So let's see. Where do I start? So, like I said, my bachelor's degree is in music education.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I actually decided not to be the band director I intended to in my student teaching.
Okay.
Everything was going great, and I felt really good in school. And then I got to my student teaching, and I said, "This is not what I expected." And part of that was I went to junior high and high school in Texas, where
Okay.
band programs are really well funded because football is so big.
Yeah.
And then, but I transferred and I finished my bachelor's in Virginia. where it's not as well funded. And so I was seeing these like pretty large bands with one band director and how much work with that person was having to do. And I just looked around and said, I actually didn't come into this profession to teach kids notes and rhythms and to like shuffle them around. Uh,
Hmm.
I thought being a band director was going to be like what my experience of band was,
Yeah.
kind of like this was a character building thing. I loved music and I loved band because it gave me a chance to be skilled in something while also being able to express myself
Yeah.
and learn about who I was as an individual and as part of an ensemble. Um, and when I got to my student teaching, it's like, okay, my experience as a band director is not going to be that. I don't want this. Like, I wanted
Hmm.
to work with kids. I didn't want to just
Yeah.
kind of shuffle around papers and do fundraising. And like, it just wasn't for me.
I'm sure there's aspects of that that's fun though. Like I would assume the fundraising part is okay because you're doing it for a good cause. But that the whole thing of standardization we were talking about, in modern schools, and even however far back you want to go, like they are setting you up for success just in a different type of way.
Mm-hmm.
So people like you, schools like Apogee and everything like that, it's just a different way of doing it.
And I still have good memories of being
Yeah,
in band. And I know there's band directors that love it. It was just not the life that I wanted for me.
yeah.
And it wasn't the career that I thought I was going to be getting into.
But to know that, you know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah.
got into student teaching, that takes a keen sense of awareness, like situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I can see the next 30, 40 years. That's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
You trusted yourself. And it's
Yeah.
hard to do that.
Right.
Truthfully, if everybody's telling you to, hey, go to school, get the best grades you can, go to college, get the best grades you can, graduate from both,
Mm-hmm.
do the best you can at work, retire. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that way has worked for so many people, but our world is just different.
Yeah. Well, I knew I wanted to do something that was really going to influence kids
Mm-hmm.
in a positive way, and I didn't think that being a band director was really going to be the avenue I needed to like work with kids the way I wanted to.
Okay.
So I stepped away from that. Didn't know what to do next. Worked in some preschools, daycare centers, and then ended up as a nanny with a family that I was with for 7 years until they just didn't need me anymore. The kids got too old, and they tried to hold on to me. And I said, you don't need me. Your kids are both in school. I've transitioned to a house manager, like, but you
mm,
don't actually need me, and
they
I'm ready to
wanted to
go
pay
back to
you
school.
though, and that's okay.
I
Like,
don't think they. I just think they didn't want to say goodbye.
yeah,
We're still in touch. The older one is in college now.
that's got to be insane, right?
The little boy that I helped potty train is now in college.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you do have that nurturing energy to you. I know you guys can hear it in her
yeah.
voice too. Like, was that transition hard? Where did you have like a sense of self loss?
Like leaving nannying.
Well, leaving nannying, but also leaving the band to nannying.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been kind of a flexible personality. 'Cause
Okay.
my dad was Navy, so I also had to like move around and kind of change
Yeah.
myself and say goodbye and say hello throughout my childhood.
It's a good skill to learn
Yeah.
young, like you get into the workforce and everything, and it's like, oh, I feel like a lot of people stay at a place because they don't want to say goodbye or that the people
Mhm.
are good and they pass up opportunities,
Mhm.
too many good
Yeah.
ones.
So
Huh.
change is I don't love change, but I'm not scared of change.
Hmm. I mean, that's good because people like you need to be teaching children. Yeah, the people who are scared of change, I personally I don't want them around me or around my kids because
Mhm.
it shouldn't take too much convincing to see where the world is going. you know, and
Yeah.
even you using AI, and I'll pull up that diagram I was telling you about in a sec. Like even you using all that and being okay with it, not having any supreme emotions that kind of hinder kids from learning. Like we need more people like you.
Mm.
It's gonna look different, and I think schooling should look different.
I think so too, but like that's my biased opinion as somebody that's trying to change what educational models are out there.
So was there anything that worked for you in school that you use now?
Like in my public schooling?
Yeah. Well, just in your education or early life that, you kind of
Oh,
stemmed
sure.
away. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I did quite well in public school. Um, I liked the structure of it. Um, I liked taking tests, which is a very strange thing to say, but like I got really good at understanding what people wanted from me
Yeah.
and giving them that and giving the test that.
You might be AI, dude.
I
You might
I
actually be
might just
AI.
really like psychology, which we'll get into that part of it
Yeah.
too. I do really like to like be flexible with my brain and try to analyze what it is that people are looking for so I can spit that back at them.
Mm.
Um, which goes back to, so I was a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
One of the kids I worked with was quite anxious, and I found that really interesting. And trying to figure out how to help him through that was fascinating. So when I left my nanny job, I went back to school and got my master's in social work and went into therapy, and ended up specializing in trauma, anxiety, grief, were
Mm-hmm.
like my three kind of wheelhouses. EMDR trained, all of
Were
that.
those all segmented? Like, or was it a part of the masters, or did you have to complete different courses in those different topics? Because they're all very different, even though they
Yeah.
coincide.
Well, I don't think trauma and anxiety are different at all. And grief is pretty related too, but we can get into that. But as far as like in my schooling, they don't really have classes to help you pick a specialty.
Right.
It's very overview. I try to unlearn most of the things I learned because when you're being taught to be a therapist, you're being taught just like with everything else, you're being given the fundamentals
Mm-hmm.
and the textbook version of how things are. You're not given the practical skills.
The context.
Right. And so
Mm.
most of like it's kind of like as a musician that you study music theory, right? And you
Mm.
study all these chords and the chord progressions, but that's not teaching you composition.
My friend told me never to learn too much of music theory because I'll stop making songs. Like,
I
and I
don't
learned
know.
it a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, like there's a formula to most to how
Hmm.
this makes me feel, and now I can't do it. Like, yeah, instead of just being completely creative and going off of the flow.
I
So
mean,
I get that.
I think people think that music theory is like the study of how good music is made when it's not. Music theory is the study of how good music has been made, not how to make it. So, like the
I'm
creation of
listening.
music theory is people looked at really well known composers that a lot of people liked and said, what are they doing? And they picked it apart
Yeah,
and they said, this is music theory.
right. It's the study of the formulas
But
of how it
Beethoven didn't
happened.
study music theory and Bach didn't study music theory, right? Those are the people that we look at their work and a lot of other composers' works, and that's how the music theorists decided what is the foundations of good music.
Right. Well, here's my thing just about schooling and education in general. There has to be a standard for somebody to break it. And then the person who
Mm-hmm.
breaks it becomes a standard. So, were those musicians, who did they learn from? Like where does music come from? Like where does sound? It
Mm,
gets so deep. Like
sure.
who, even for school, who creates the standard for these things? Is it
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of guys in suits not learning and they just have enough money to build institutions? I think part of that's true.
I don't know. And how much of it is that there are enough people that intuitively just have a genius for
Yeah.
something, and we're all learning from those few people, and how much of it is like ingrained into humanity? Maybe there's this sort of like ingrained like knowledge of what is like attractive to us musically,
Hmm.
and there's just some people that figure that out faster than others,
Yeah, figure it out better too. Because
or
you're
figure out how
pulling,
to make it instead of just hear it.
yeah. So like, what emotions from Ex Machina got pulled for you? Like, what was it conveying to you? Because I'm pretty
Mm,
sure it's either similar or completely different from mine. you know,
mm,
but doing stuff like that, making that type of art, making music at that level, you're right. They're intuitively pulling on feeling. They're pulling
mm-hmm.
on emotion, but there has to be there has to be a way to capture that for everybody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why AI it is prominent. It's some great technology, but I think that's why people are averse to AI music too. Like, no, I need a person to make me feel this way, not a
Yeah.
computer, even though it could convey the same emotion. You know what I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
at? It's a weird dichotomy. Guy, I got a diagram up here for and you can read down there. I don't know if you can see it, but it says 6.8 billion people have never used AI. Each dot, it's like a dot diagram, and each dot represents 3.2 million people.
This is internationally.
Yeah, this is everywhere,
Okay.
like out of the billions of people on Earth. The free chatbot users are green, and those are 1.3 billion, so about 16%. Smaller than that is about 15 to 25 million that pay $20 a month for it. So you
Mm-hmm.
see the extra pro subscription tier on ChatGPT or Claude
Mm-hmm.
or Grok or something like that. And then uses coding scaffolding. I didn't even know what that was. I looked it up but didn't finish researching. Like, but
Hmm.
that's even less. So there's people who don't even know what this stuff is actually doing, but everybody's going to be affected for it, affected by it. So from the free to the scaffolding users are going to affect the rest of the population.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, inherently there's not enough doers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's true that those who can't do teach? Because
No,
okay, why
no,
is that?
definitely not. I mean, I can do lots of things that I just choose not to because it just doesn't interest me.
Hmm.
Um, like I've played around in entrepreneurship and just like, can I do that? Yes, absolutely. I don't really like the business end of things. I
Yeah,
prefer to be in front of people.
yeah. It's a different art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there lots of things that I could do quite successfully? Like I'm very confident that there's a lot of things I could do quite successfully, but I don't get that same satisfaction as I do when I get in front of people and I teach them something and I get to see their eyes light up and the connections being made.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm putting more people out in the world that are going to be competent and capable of doing the things that I don't really want to do.
But you were a great test taker. Off camera, guys, she was talking about how she would miss school after taking a test because she finished. Like, that's not an everybody thing, you know what I mean? And you were also talking
Yeah.
about there was no time limit to taking tests or anything like that back in Texas. So
Yeah, for the standardized test. Yeah.
how like how are you toting that line? You know, because I was talking like, hey, it's either one or the other. You either get on or you lay down. But you're like, no, like there's nothing wrong with school if you can do it,
Hmm.
and you should also be tapping into the creative side and contextually figuring out what you need to do.
Hmm.
You know, and that's why I'm like, you're one of the best teachers I've met already. You haven't taught me a thing. Like I haven't sat in your class at all. How do you balance that? You know, it's not an easy thing. People are like, I'm either all for it and I'm going to be one of the first users, like on that diagram down there, and be one of the early adapters, or everybody else, the 6-7 billion
Hmm.
people are just getting behind. They're behind essentially.
I think that goes back to like not being afraid of change,
Mm-hmm.
and also like we tend to be scared of the things that we don't understand.
Right.
So I put a lot
Human
of
nature.
yeah, I put a lot of effort into trying to understand what AI is and what it can and can't be used for.
Hmm.
And for me, I think my husband talks about this too because his workplace is trying to adapt a lot of AI and try to
Yeah.
use it. But like I have come to understand that AI is only as useful as like the amount of knowledge I have.
Yeah. The context you put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people trying to like, if you want AI to be a good writer, you can get AI to write things for you,
Yeah.
but it's only going to be as good as you're able to look at it and decide whether this is good writing or not, and then edit it from there. If
Yeah.
you're not a very good writer and you don't know what you're putting in there, you're able to read what AI gave you, and then it might look good enough to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's only as good as of a writer as you are versus like a really good writer would be able to like look at a first pass of AI like writing an essay for you,
Yeah.
and then we'll give it feedback about like you need to take these out, we need to organize this paragraph more, we need to provide more information on this thing, the flow isn't very good, the structure is not organized,
Mm-hmm.
let's rewrite it, let's make these changes, and then AI can save some time by rewriting with some feedback.
Yeah. I get that. I appreciate you explaining it because there's a lot of things that I'm trying to build or do, or even with the podcast and everything that I know I could automate or make better, but I don't have the context for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I have sometimes I have it write my summaries and I'll read it back and I'm like, it straight up just didn't read the transcript that I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to go back and listen, or I have to go back and say, this was that part of the conversation you missed that was actually the key, and this is where you missed. It does play to the mean, but I think that also makes it's going to force humans to get better at their craft, at
Mm-hmm.
anything they're doing, because if you can just be taken out by something that can just do the median of what's going on, of course it's going to be above average to us because it's a computer. It's doing
Mm-hmm.
the stuff not at the speed of light, but whatever is two tiers under that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so it's fascinating, man. It
Yeah.
really is.
I think one of the coolest things that I've used AI for is it, having it kind of help me understand myself better and my learning process better.
Yeah.
So, for example, right now I'm practicing watercolor painting, and I'm
Okay.
pretty new to it.
Like
I've
Bob Ross type ordeals.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. But I'm pretty new to like actually legit practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And my father-in-law is like a professor of art, he specializes in watercolor, so I can get some feedback from him. But most of my feedback has come from AI, and the biggest thing that AI has helped me understand is not like what techniques to use, but what I need to do to make sure I don't get burnt out practicing. That
Mm.
I don't do well with just doing technique stuff. It's helping me analyze like what kind of images I'm most attracted to,
Yeah.
and what kind of studies I need to do so that I'm still practicing and getting better, but I'm actually still enjoying the process so that I want to do the next painting.
Yeah.
Um,
Does it care how you feel? Like,
no, AI doesn't care how I feel, but it's interested in how I feel because that gives it information about what it is I'm interested in and not interested in.
yeah.
So AI knows that I like to find subjects that have some emotion in them.
Mm-hmm.
That if I'm just given still life, that I'm gonna like quit doing painting pretty quick.
Still life? Like,
Like just painting eggs or an apple, or things that don't move and don't have life,
yeah,
which is a very traditional way to study watercolor in the beginning,
that makes
is to
sense.
do still life, to study light shining on an apple.
Right.
And so I did an egg in an egg cup, and I did some spheres. And then I was like, this is so boring. I don't think I want to do watercolor anymore. And I talked to AI about it, and it helped me analyze the pieces I've done, tell me what things I'm doing well, which things I need to practice, and also noted that because I'm not interested in doing these things, these are some other ideas for things you might be interested in. And maybe we should shift. And here's a reference photo that I think you should work from. Try that, see what you think of that.
Did it pull up an actual image or did it make one?
No, it makes images.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Dude, that's awesome.
yeah.
Like, you use it in a way that I haven't gotten to yet. Um, I think just because what I'm doing is a lot more binary. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, either this program works or it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you're like, hey, like, I'm not trying to get burnt out. I'm learning this. Help me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I do that to a certain degree, but it's still ones and zeros. Like, how does it work with art? Did you have to tell it like, hey, I'm doing this and I want you to help me this way, or it just started doing it on its own? Because that would be fascinating if it just picked up this new context for your chat.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it will just kind of volunteer things, but like, I sometimes I'll just complain to it, and I'll just say like, this was no fun at all. I didn't like painting this. I think I just want to quit. If I ever have to paint another sphere, I'm gonna scream. And I'll just give it that information, and then I'll analyze what it is I'm trying to say and give alternative framings. And I don't know if it's because of how I talk to it and because I have a history with it.
Yeah.
I feel like it talks to me the way I would talk to somebody as a therapist.
Okay.
Like everything that
Slippery
it
slope.
tells me is like information
Yeah.
that I need to like look at and reframe and try to figure out like, where does this fit with the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you're an educator of the youth, like, and you use it too. But I wouldn't want like kids going to it for therapy. You know what I mean?
No, I'm
Some
not saying go
aspects,
to it for therapy. I'm
yeah,
saying I don't know if it's because of how I talk to it, but I feel like it talks to me the way I talked to people as a therapist, the way that I approach
right,
how I respond to what people say to me. I feel like AI does that back to me.
right. See, now I got to watch you prompt one day. I got to watch you talk to it
Yeah,
one day so I can learn
yeah,
because I feel like I would get way more information. I think it's how you're talking to
might be.
because it's only mimicking. It's
Mhm.
essentially a mirror with a computer behind it.
Mhm.
You know, so if you're talking to it in a way to where it's helping you not get burned out, I would love to see that. Like, I would love to see it, and you can also share chats, but I'm not gonna ask you to do that. Have any of your kids at Apogee used it yet? Do you show them?
Um
I know they're pretty young
a
sometimes.
tiny bit, but not like an open AI. There is like a school AI website where you could
Yeah,
do where teachers or parents could get on there and like within a safe context,
yeah.
we can tell AI what you're going to be and what you're not going to be. So I had a student that was learning how to write a biography,
Mm-hmm.
and she chose Ben Franklin. Um, and so I created through the school AI website a AI version of Benjamin Franklin that she could talk to as if it's Benjamin Franklin.
What did you put in it to make it Ben Frank?
I just gave it a prompt that like I
Mm-hmm.
want you to respond to her as if you are Benjamin Franklin. Provide answers about your life, your interest, your history. Um, do not provide specific suggestions about how to write.
Mm.
She's using this information for an essay.
Yeah.
Um,
What's the website called? I'm gonna look it
I
up while
think
you're
it's
talking.
School AI,
School AI. Okay.
but I don't remember if that's the exact website. But you can look it up, and I'll be able to tell you.
But so, how was her biography? How did it work with it?
I mean, she just talked to it as if.
No, that's
No,
for a
that's not
domain.
it.
Yeah, we'll find it. Don't worry
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
all
We'll
that.
find
Yeah,
it. I can send it to you later too.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Um,
But did she get a good grade? Do you guys go off grades or?
no, we don't grade anything.
I would have loved this school as a kid, specifically in
Yeah.
like middle and high school.
Hmm.
Like, I wasn't bad at school, but I told you, like, once I figured out you didn't have to be the top of your class to,
Hmm.
get by. What's the point of trying harder?
Yeah.
What's the point of being interested in this stuff?
Hmm.
I remember even in college, like, I appreciated physics, but I couldn't understand it. I needed more time. And obviously I didn't study outside of it like
Right.
too much. I would just go to class and learn thinking I could do that. Like, I didn't understand the complexities of it. But if I was in a school like Apogee, or if they had if Apogee was the standard growing up, I might have been able to jump into that interest a little bit more.
Hmm.
Because in high school, I was programming, but I would just copy off of my friend Jordan. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? I literally would. Jordan, I love you. I know you're listening, but literally I would copy off of them like, hey dude, I don't understand this. I'm interested in it, but I don't know how to make it connect. I just couldn't
Yeah.
read the language, right?
Hmm.
College, I dropped out of computer programming because I didn't see they're teaching me if else statements and the functions and everything like that. But I'm like, how is this going to work in the real world? So I originally went to
Hmm.
school for communications. So I switched to computer programming because there's real world application to it. But when you're in the class, they're just teaching you how to type. They're teaching you
Hmm.
what the functionality is. They're not like, hey, this function can relate to this in the real world when you're doing it. So I
Hmm.
left. Yeah, I love school altogether, but I left that program. But now in the real world, I love it so much. I'm on it all the time. I'm
Yeah.
only off of my computer to hang out with my wife or to go outside or hang out with family and friends or to work out. You know,
Yeah.
I
I
just wish there was more of that
yeah.
non-standardization that Apogee had.
I think schools tend to think that the only way we can get kids to learn is by telling them they must learn this and turning it into a chore.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. Like I said, this is my third school year in like the micro school world and like a similar model to Apogee.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, like when you don't have tests that kids are studying for, and we don't do homework, and they're not graded on assignments.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much they like figure out what it is they're going to need to become the adult that they want to be,
Yeah.
and they're interested in it not because they want to get a good grade, not because they want to pass the test,
Mm-hmm.
but because they want to become more competent.
It actually fosters excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of what would people call it? Like it builds more resiliency than apathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they're not just running around all day. Like their structure. You're telling me about the Montessori you guys built in here.
Yeah.
We're seeing and looking at it, and you're like, yeah, the only reason we got plastic is because of the expense cost. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense. But everything is built for their success here. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like people like you want to see the kids succeed, not just in school so they can get a paycheck,
Yeah.
you know, or keep getting paid. And there's nothing wrong with that to a certain degree. People do need to get paid. Teachers are important.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went to Gahanna
Absolutely.
schools, and my English teacher, she was like, "Hey, you have a great smile. Like never lose that. You could be president with that smile." You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't have any aspirations to be president anymore, but like it drove me to like, okay, I can actually be something, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's important. Outside of my family doing it, which they always did, but hearing that from people that don't look like you, that are teaching you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that aren't inside of your home, like it's just as important to see it there. But I think we're all still kind of bound as a society to passing or failing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When failure is a part of life, you know,
Yes.
failure is not final if you don't let it be final. You
Well,
know what I
and in
mean?
Apogee, we look at failure as being part of the learning process
Yeah,
that's necessary. So we celebrate when you have a failed attempt at something.
you have to fail.
You have to fail. Like the other ways, you're not going to have anything to learn from. And if we only do the things that come easily to us, you're not actually learning
Yeah,
anything that you need. You already learned that if it's easy.
yeah.
So we look for opportunities to do things that are hard enough that we fail. Like I don't know if you saw on our wall, um, it says
There's a
really
big,
big. It
beautiful
says
flower
we can
here.
do hard things. Well, yeah, around the corner
Yeah, okay.
we do hard things. Like that's the only way to grow as people is
Mm-hmm.
to continue doing hard things. And we as adults, we do this all the time. Like we forget that kids can do the same things we do. As adults, hardly any of our learning is coming from going into a classroom and listening
Yeah,
to a lecture.
yeah. Maybe lectures on YouTube, but I get what you're saying.
And most of the learning we're doing is not because we're being told we need to learn this. Like maybe sometimes for work, we have to take certain trainings. Those
Yeah,
are the least favorite thing that anybody has to do.
yeah. But that's so you can provide. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean? Like, I get it.
But most of our learning is happening, it's self-paced,
Mm-hmm.
like we are in Apogee. It's curiosity based, like it's stuff that we're interested in. Um, and it's just because we want to know when we want to grow.
Yeah,
And we're figuring out for ourselves how to teach ourselves.
yeah.
So Apogee and similar micro schools are trying to kind of take that and say, like, how do we actually enjoy learning as an adult? Well, can we give that to kids? Can we put them a little bit more in charge of what does success look like to them? What is important to them right now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wait for the kids to say, um, like, oh, you type really fast. I would like to be able to do that because I'm kind of tired of hunting and pecking. It takes me forever to do a Google search. And how do you type that fast? And now they're interested in it because it's important to them, not because they have to pass their typing class.
Right.
And so now I've got several of my kids that are learning typing skills slowly and surely
Mm-hmm.
because they just want to. They're excited about it. They can see how important it is and how it can change them.
It'll help you communicate faster.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm telling you, the voice prompting and you know, even prompting with your facial expressions and everything like that, that's gonna be the next wave. Are you educated about like augmented reality at all?
No.
Okay, so like just walk with me real
Yeah.
quick. It's
Okay.
it's along with AI, but
Okay.
it's you know those meta glasses and everything like that.
Kind of.
Imagine I have meta glasses or you have meta glasses and you're walking up to Apogee and you have no clue what it is. Augmented reality would be able to take a picture essentially in real time of the Apogee logo, query it on the internet, and then in like give you a dynamic interface to where you can read their information.
Mm.
You know,
Okay.
so I truly believe one day it'll get like as small as a contact lens or you know an earpiece you can put in your ear that can do the same thing.
Interesting.
But eventually, because our posture gets bad, sitting's the new smoking, all that good stuff and science behind it, like there'll be a different way to learn. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think the technology is fully there yet. But once it's there, there's going to be it. everything's going to be like Apogee. Like, you know what I mean? Kids will be at recess and they'll see a bug, they'll see a ladybug and get interested and learn everything about a ladybug in a
Mm-hmm.
few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can write a report on that, and that'll be their science class, or I don't know the term for bugology, but the
Ent-
study of bugs.
uh, entomology, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, or if they see a word, etymology, stuff like that. So
Yes.
it's really fascinating where we're going, and that's why I wanted to talk to you and talk
Mm-hmm.
about Apogee in general. And we did meet Brian as well. He's a great dude. Love you, Brian. But yeah, I just think it's going to be a much better world for children, which
Mm-hmm.
is what needs to happen. you know?
Yeah, and I think with the world of AI, really like right there, well, already here, we're
Mm-hmm.
already in the era of AI and of like supercomputers in our pockets.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it even more important that we're not focusing on just cramming information into kids' skulls,
Mm-hmm.
but we're actually teaching them how to do critical thinking, how to have conversations with people. We're teaching them like how to teach themselves
Yeah.
things. Because they can access whatever information they need. They don't need a textbook in front of them to and all these memorized facts. Like you can look that up.
Yeah.
We need kids to understand how they think, how other people think, how to analyze information
Mm-hmm.
and come up with solutions so that we can then plug in information that we can get instantly into that solution and figure things out. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
It'll happen way faster. Your husband probably knows the joke, but it made me think of it when you were saying it. But the difference between a junior programmer and a senior programmer is the senior programmer says, "I can just Google better than you." Like,
I
literally.
do hear that a lot, but
Yeah,
yeah.
because the more of a caveman you sound like, the better the search will be, more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's picking out certain words, even on a resume. It's picking out certain words to hit to get in front of an actual person. So if
Mm-hmm.
you know that that's the game, you can have anything on your resume if you know what to say.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so it's I had this conversation with my friend Matt, and we were talking about the same thing. He was like, "Yeah, like the world is gonna be how good can you work with people, how good can you look things up, what can you actually do, versus
Mm-hmm.
what have you studied, or how well did you pass this test?"
What
Like,
knowledge do you have memorized?
yeah, literally. And
Yeah.
it's still important to memorize knowledge, but like our phones are so good, you don't really have to memorize people's phone numbers anymore. You can if you want to, because that is important. But
Still is important to have a few in case you
yeah,
lose your phone or
yeah,
breaks.
emergency
Yeah.
contacts, family members, people you talk to every
Mm-hmm.
day. But even then, like, dude, for a while, I was like, why do we even pay for cell service? Like, you know what I mean? If I
Mm-hmm.
could literally connect to the internet and go on Facebook or go on Instagram or Twitter or talk to people, why
Yeah.
do we need that? Like, and I think to be based in reality, but also have that mindset of like, hey, things can be better, things can be
Mm-hmm.
freer. You know what I mean? But they literally socially castrated Nikolai Tesla for thinking like that. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, with free energy and everything. You know about that?
Little bit. I don't know a ton about Tesla, but
Yeah,
a little bit.
essentially, he figured out a way for energy to be free.
Mm.
And to conduct electricity to where you didn't have to pay for it. And they were like, yeah, you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
I can see that.
I think a kid he made a different type of fuel for cars, but the
Mm.
oil companies they're not gonna let that happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
There was even a big pushback of electronic vehicles and solar panels on homes because people still want to be powered by gas, and
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. I think there's a world for both.
Sure.
Just like Apogee and just like the regular school system and
Oh, yeah,
everything like that.
for sure. And I have nothing against teachers. I
Yeah,
love
no.
teachers. My mom was a teacher
My
for 30
sister in law is a
years.
teacher. Hey,
Teachers
love
are
you.
great. Teachers go into it for the love of teaching, just
Yeah.
like why I've gotten into what I'm doing. I have no problem with teachers. I think there's a lot of things that need to be improved in the school system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the building blocks just need to be rearranged.
Mm-hmm.
Higher learning should be the basis. You shouldn't have to
Mm-hmm.
work 18 years to then finally expand your mind. That's not how that works.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
also like, Apogee is not trying to replace public school. What I would love to see is for schools like Apogee's to become places where ideas get experimented with, where
Mm.
education gets experimented with, so that the public schools and all the private schools and all these other schools can look and see what's working.
Yeah.
And maybe they're going to make some changes too.
Yeah.
Apogee is not going to be perfect. I'm sure that there's parts of the models that are going to change with time as we learn things too.
Yeah.
Um,
Contextualizing it, the
yeah,
learning.
yeah.
Right.
And so can public schools at least kind of go like, well, we see that these results we're not getting these results that we want. And these Apogee schools are doing this thing differently and it's working really well for them, then maybe those public schools are going to have some evidence that they need to be able to shift something they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a one or the other. It's not binary, especially when it comes to children, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody tells me who has kids, like, hey, you have these expectations for what your kid is like, and then you'll see them, and then all that'll go away.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just with them and you want them to be the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come to grips with that, it's a sense of control that you want because, you made your child. But at the same time, why? Like, why would
Mm-hmm.
you want somebody to do that to you as an adult? So why would you do that to your kid?
Right.
Can you tell me about the success rate of Apogee? I'm loving this, dude. This is awesome.
So Apogee is a pretty new model, and I don't
Right.
have numbers for you. I don't remember how many years it's been
Okay.
in place. And I guess I would want to know, like, what do you mean by success rate?
So, did you hear about that Disney Channel star? I'll look up her name in a second, but she went from Disney Channel. She had a couple hit shows there, then she had a couple hit songs there, and now she's like one of the tech lords essentially, and she's like building a huge space company. Bridget Mendler is her name, I think.
Okay.
Is there like success? Do the kids do you see that track for the children that you normally work with? Do any of them burn out in a situation like this and it's just not a right fit?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely like the Apogee model. Like I said, hasn't been around a long time, but there's been other similar micro schools that have been experimenting with some of the things. So it's not like we've created something brand new. But the Apogee model, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, we were talking about the success and fail rate of children.
Yeah. Oh,
in the model.
And is it right for everybody?
Right.
Yeah. And I would definitely say it's not going to be the right fit for every kid. Apogee is really going to do best with kids that do hands-on learning more. Kids that are very curious. I like to think about like when I was in high school, there was always those few kids in the class that would raise their hands and the teacher would get a annoying face on them because they knew that kid is going to ask a question that is going to be like too smart for me and going to make me look dumb.
Yeah.
And he's going to like push the boundaries and want to know why, and say how it doesn't make sense. Those are the kids I'd like to have an Apogee.
Yeah.
Like we want the ones that are not afraid to think outside of just the information they're given, and are curious and want to push the boundaries of what is true, and try to explore every angle.
My friend Ross is like that. He's going into college after this year. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he's 17, 18 years old. And he was explaining to me the concept of entropy, which is essentially randomness in science and specifically thermodynamics. And I'm like, dude, like, I can see why you have the issues you have at school sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that, this is documented stuff. He would love to talk about it. But yeah, I'm like, I could see if you're pushing the boundary and the teacher is specifically teaching you English and you're connecting it to multiple different aspects of your brain, I could see that being hard for the teacher. I could see that being hard for students, So I'm glad that Apogee fosters that kind of learning because that is how you retain information. You have to connect it to what you know.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you don't do that, then you're just literally storing information, and that's what a computer does.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and we also want those kids that are looking to not just become knowledgeable, but that they want to become leaders. Like we call our kids leaders every day.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want them to become.
Yeah.
We want them to be good role models. We want them to live by a code, and be loyal people and honest people and have integrity, and be willing to stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
So it's about that too. And we to do a lot of fitness. We have a CrossFit workout like every day for our kids. So the kids that thrive here are the ones that want to grow in every way possible. They're curious, they want to become leaders in their community, they want to become stronger physically and mentally and emotionally. Not every kid has the drive to really want to succeed in that way.
I
At
would
least
say
not
that that's
yet.
most kids, though, right? Like at least 3 out of 5 want to, be successful and leaders and
I think
things like
so.
that.
Yeah.
You know, when you've seen that lack of drive in Apogee,
Mm-hmm.
what's the quote unquote standard for how to foster that into them? Or is it just a conversation with the parents at that point? Like, hey, this might not be the right fit.
I mean, we're in this Apogee Gahanna's in its first year, so
Right.
we haven't had any kids leave because they're the right fit.
Okay.
And especially like I come from my therapy perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm not quick to just say, "Oh, this kid is not doing well here.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a good fit." I'm always very curious when there's resistance, when there's struggles, like what's going on behind there. And a lot of times it comes down to like core thoughts about themselves, or it comes from
Oh.
fear about something. I've got a kid who's anxious about, this thing. And so they're resistant because they're trying to protect themselves
Yeah.
from what they perceived as a failure that might affect them negatively. So I like to dig into those things. And then, like in my past experiences in micro schools, the only times when I've really felt like this child is just not a good fit, it usually comes down to how the family treats them. And if there's if the family has fostered a mindset that's very fixed, where they feel like they're not capable of getting better. Oh, my child has ADHD and they just can't focus, and they don't have that growth mindset around their child. The child is, it's very difficult to teach a growth mindset to a child who's not being supported in that way at home.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of if you're treating your child like they're not capable of growing and accomplishing and achieving and becoming competent, uh, I'm going to struggle to teach them to be that way.
Right.
And if they don't want to be
Oh.
that way, if they just want the world to adapt around them, then it might not be a good fit for them here,
Yeah.
because we're all about resilience and growth mindset and like pushing past what we think we're able to do to get to the next level.
That makes me sad, dude.
I
It really does.
know.
It does make me sad. Like, it's, and thank God that you do have that therapist perspective, and B, that you're not looking at just this kid as a number,
Mm-hmm.
on the board. Like, hey, I got to push them through. I mean, it's important for them to, if they don't have it in a certain aspect, to develop it, whether that's in school or with
Mm-hmm.
themselves. But it's just harder to do by yourself. It's harder to do as an adult. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a certain mindset, and now at your job, or in a business or anything like that, or in a relationship, if somebody's pushing you to have that growth mindset and that's not something you had, then how are you supposed to
Mm-hmm.
like, it really takes a sense of not only drive, but like humility too,
Yeah.
which is, how do you teach that to a kid? Like,
Growth mindset or humility?
I mean, both really. Like, yeah, I do think it takes a level of humility to have a growth mindset, but I would
Yeah.
feel that most kids have enough humility to learn,
Yeah.
because their mind is still a sponge. Even the
For sure.
teenagers, I mean, they're like, okay, I can actually learn. This person who's older isn't just seeing me as a static being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Also, what we're talking about is what we're going to have issues with when physical AI really becomes a thing,
Mm.
where people can actually wrestle with that thing over there and it can learn, and then that starts having feelings. So it'll
Yeah.
it'll open up a whole apogee
Yeah.
for robots. Like,
Yeah.
but how
Teaching
does
growth
it?
mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I mean, I think that I, I have a lot of kind of tools I use to help kids remember that they already have a growth mindset, just
Mm-hmm.
not in this very particular moment.
Mm.
And it starts like with infants. We remind kids like, hey, you learned how to walk. Do you think you just got up and started walking? Well, no, you fell. You fell over and over again. And you know what you did? You got up again and you kept trying, and you fell as a baby. You probably fell dozens and dozens of times. Who knows how many times, right? We don't really count that because we don't
Right.
celebrate the falls. We celebrate the moments when you're
Yeah,
standing.
yeah. When your legs are strong enough.
And then
Yeah.
the kid falls and we go, That's okay. Come on, you can do it. Get back up. Right? And they get up again, and we celebrate the getting up again. And that's a growth mindset that, every infant starts wanting to get back up again.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we just get frustrated and forget that we want to keep getting up again and again and again,
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to fail and that we want to keep going. It's only when
Amen to
you
that,
have,
dude.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know of anybody that just feels like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And if I do hear that, then it's usually I'm thinking, okay, you feel stuck and you feel anxious about something, and we need to get to that.
Yeah.
What's the fear of failure that's happening here? What do you think is going to happen? Like, I go into all my therapy skills, like, let's analyze this and get to the core thought there that is blocking your desire to move forward like every human being wants to.
Yeah. Because it's self-preservation feels selfish to say, but it's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that even in the most primal of times, when cavemen were trying to fend for their families and everything, they didn't catch everything every time.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would starve to death, but humans eventually figured out a way to build enough of an infrastructure not only to catch and to eat, but then to store food, and
Mm-hmm.
then to process food and then to distribute it. Now, processing of the food, we can get into that.
Yeah, we can just not get into
Yeah, literally, it's a
that.
it's a whole rabbit hole we don't have to go down. But you get what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
it was a process, and it took thousands of years. Even
yeah.
BC. It's like when they made fire, they made it one time, and then they didn't realize the rain affects the fire
Mm-hmm.
until it actually happened. So,
Well, I think the reason why humans are so successful in the world and why we have so much, we've grown so much, is because humans are unique in that they don't want to stop at just surviving. Once we have learned how to survive, we want to try to reach self-actualization, right?
thrive. Yeah.
That Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, once we have the basics, we want more. We want
Mm-hmm.
more, and humans don't stop until they die. They are constantly, even in old age, they're going to try to find ways to reach self-actualization.
Yeah.
So we don't have to just stop at teaching kids the basics. If we just let them be and help them, like, address the anxieties that block their curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do just like every other human, which is pursue greatness
Mm-hmm.
in whatever direction they're going to end up going.
Yeah. It's good. I do want to talk about your therapy background. You get the great part of that and the altruistic part of pursuing greatness, but then you get like, bad world leaders. I mean? Like just over time, not even talking about right now. Like, how does that happen? And were you in therapy with children and adults?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like how? So you've seen both of the spectrums. I was hoping you did. Like,
Yes.
how does that? How does a person get there? How does a person get to the point where? Because I would say even like the bad world leaders in history that you can read through are they were pursuing greatness in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
they were still on that drive. Like you were
Sure.
saying, where's that come from? Where's that like?
How does a person become that way?
Like, yeah,
I think that's a really big question.
yeah, and like it's hard to answer, but
It's
it's just
hard to
food for
answer.
thought.
I
Like,
guess I guess just basic. I think that people create value systems. We all have temperaments. Um, there's interesting like personality studies of somebody like Hitler
mm-hmm.
that show that he had a very sensitive, a big sensitivity to disgust, the emotion of disgust. So we all, like, this is just like one weird
So
little
he
thing.
hated himself. Like,
No, he just was very easily disgusted by things,
oh,
right? So we all have sensitivities to disgust. You've got like even looking at food and like how sensitive people are to like smells.
yeah,
That some people will, or like pieces of fruit. Like some people don't want a banana if it's gotten past a certain like rightness
Yeah.
because it's too close to going bad, and
Yeah.
other people are like, it's still good, right?
I'm
Or
that
they'll,
person.
are you the person that needs your clothes to be like super clean, or are you okay with the smell test?
Mm.
Right? We have different kind of tolerances to something like disgust.
Yeah.
And apparently, Adolf Hitler was very sensitive to disgust. So he was known to like bathe himself a lot, that he needed very tidy. He needed his
Wow.
clothes to be crisp, that he had was very sensitive to that emotion.
Yeah.
And that some people have theorized that that's part of what drove some of his philosophies too,
Mm-hmm.
was that level of disgust also branched out to like differences in people.
Yeah.
That it was easy for him to kind of look at like these types of people
There's less than.
are less disgusting and
Yeah.
these people are more disgusting, and kind of sort things out as like, well, you're too different and you don't have the same things as me. And so there was like an inherent level of disgust. This is just a theory,
Yeah.
but this is like one of the things that some like psychologists will kind of look at, is some of these personality traits and how they help shape our thoughts about the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why I say you're a great teacher, because I didn't know that, and you explained it in such a way that was gentle, but not condoning like anything that happened. That was freaking awesome. I love that, dude. Um, and I brought that up because I remember Joe Rogan saying like, hey, like I just started treating adults like just bigger babies. You know what I mean? And if somebody's having a tantrum or something like that, they were still a child, you know. So you've seen both ends of the spectrum. Like I just think it's very powerful that you've had that perspective, and you can, you know, figure out, hey, like some of these personalities are more apt to this or that, and be able to contextualize it to the children. Like it's something that you should not take lightly, and honestly, you should brag about. Like that's freaking awesome. Brag is a strong word, but you know what I mean. Like definitely let people know. Like, hey,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, I have fun with it. I think that definitely, like, one of the things you have to do if you want to be a good therapist is you have to learn how to empathize with all sorts of different kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
You can't have somebody come to your office and just judge them.
Mm.
You have to find a way to be able to, like, understand where they're coming from and what they've been through in a way that, like, that person makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, and there isn't that level of disgust. And they're, it's just, this is a different person that has this background and this personality traits, and this is their value system, and there's nothing inherently wrong with any of those things. So I'm going to work on not trying to give them a different value system,
Right.
but help them develop integrity, which is when our actions line up with our values.
Yeah. I love that you said integrity, because that's probably the most important thing. And most of you listen know what integrity is, but it's doing what you're supposed to do and nobody's looking, doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Understanding who you are and letting that not get debased.
That's how I describe it to people sometimes, but really it's your behavior is lining up with your inherent values as a person.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's awesome, dude. Um, I did have a question about therapy, because I do think it's interesting. I've been in therapy before, but it was back in college, so it's definitely outdated. But my question was, should people start therapy with the end in mind, or should it be something that's ongoing? You know?
I think a better question is, should people start therapy?
Hmm.
I think I have opinions on this. I think that we need to be more careful about who we're suggesting therapy to. There's a phenomenon that happened with the medical world, in which, like, when we had not a lot of doctors, those doctors treated the people that needed help most. And as we've gotten more and more doctors, more people have become sick enough to need medical help.
Okay.
The same thing I'm seeing with the therapy world. It used to be that therapy was reserved for people who had like really bad mental illness that really needed treatment.
Yeah, people who are incapable in
Everybody
certain
else went to their
aspects.
friends, they
Yeah.
went to their neighbors, they went to their churches, they went to their community. They got the help they needed from people
This is
that they connected
fascinating, dude.
with.
This is so fascinating.
But as we've gotten more therapists, now the definition of what it means to be sick enough to need therapy has also expanded.
Right.
And we've become lonelier
Right.
and started coming to our therapist instead of going to our neighbors and to our friends and to our family and to our community, to our churches.
Well,
I don't think
therapists
that
are
actually helps.
community though, right? Like,
I
or
don't,
is it
they
such a
should be
barrier?
tools.
Right. Right.
I mean, a therapist, in my mind, is a tool for treatment.
Right. As a
That's what we're
person.
being paid for
Mm-hmm.
by insurance, usually,
Mm-hmm.
is to provide a treatment, not a friendship.
Okay, I see the inherent difference now. Even though you could develop a friendship, that's not the basis of the
You're not
relationship.
supposed to build a friendship with a therapist. That's crossing like ethical boundaries.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's just some things I
You
didn't
might
know.
start to feel like a friendship with your therapist, but that's not healthy because the therapist should be encouraging you to seek out actual friendships, not a person that you're paying to listen to you.
Wow.
Do you get to have some sort of attachment to your therapist? Like sometimes, because a lot of times it's the only person who's actually going to sit there and listen to you and reflect back and not judge and not give
Unbiased.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really nice to have,
Yeah.
but that's not what we actually need as far as friendships and community,
Mm-hmm.
is a person that's paid to listen to you.
Dang. You explain that better than anybody. Like, to me, because I'm like, I always try and figure out the nuance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it does make sense. If there's more therapists, then the definition would inherently change.
Mm-hmm.
You
And I
know?
think there's a lot of people that don't actually need therapy, that just need
Community.
friends and
Yeah.
community and purpose.
Yeah.
They need to go out in the world and like do something to feel worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of social media. That's the beauty of the internet. You can connect with people, but like we were saying about augmented reality, like it'll cause people to not look at a screen. If I'm a programmer and I can go through the world through glasses
Mm-hmm.
and do the same work instead of looking at a black screen with LEDs behind it, I'm still able to connect and get my job done.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be completely different whenever that shift actually happens. You know,
Yeah.
as great as the phone is, it might still be a tool a decade from now, but that might not be the primary like way we communicate. You
I
know,
hope not.
I think it will be a shift going back to people, going back to community, or using the tool of a therapist.
Yeah.
Dang, dude, you're freaking awesome. Dude, you're awesome. Seriously,
There's a reason I left therapy, and it's not because I got tired of it. It's because I got tired of seeing that we need to do better.
So do you think it got watered down? Like what people need it for?
Yeah. I mean, as a therapist, like I'll be honest, like I could diagnose whoever walked in my door. If they wanted treatment, like I could find a diagnosis for you and get you treatment. But most of them, like they would have been better served if they've just find a church, find some classes, find a club, find some people, find a community, and like start talking to people more regularly.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn the hard way that you can't tell people what they need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, real close friend of mine, like, he was like, hey, you can't do that to people. You can't tell them, like, you need this or you don't need that. Like, and I was like, oh, okay, that is true, because what if somebody was doing it to you or doing it to somebody you love? You're like, hey, what if they actually do need that?
I mean, I sometimes would tell people what they need, but from like a psychoeducation,
exactly.
I'll tell you like this is how your brain works.
You're a person of authority, though. Like regular people can't tell regular people what they need and what they don't need to a certain extent.
I mean, I thought of myself as an educator, not a person of authority. So did I educate my clients on how their brain works? Like, absolutely. And in that way, like, it's just kind of a basic calculation of like, this is how your brain works. This is what's not working well right now. And that's because you need more of this.
Yeah.
But you are trying to replace that thing with this thing, and it's not working for you. And so, like, now we have a treatment plan of like, we need to get rid of these replacement things that are trying to fill in the gap and get you back the things that are actually needed for your brain to work functionally and for you to be happy and purposeful and have meaning in your life.
Yeah. Dude, you're great. Seriously, this is so awesome. I do want to talk about a couple more things. Is it EDMR or EMDR?
EMDR.
Okay, cool. EMDR, like, can you explain what that is? Because I looked it up and I'm like, that makes sense, but how does it work? You know what I mean? And all I saw is people putting their finger back and forth. And how does that work? Like, what is that?
So, okay, so it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing,
Yeah.
which now the creator of EMDR would say, like, I wish I could go back and rename it, because the eye movement part of it is not actually very important.
Okay.
EMDR therapists don't always even use eye movements. They'll use all sorts of like bilateral stimulation. The way I frame it,
You mean like an eye test, like when they test your vision in a
so
driver's or in a BMV or something? Like that was the part that was confusing.
yeah.
Because I was like, I understand the end goal, but what does rapid eye movement have to do with that?
So I'll tell you kind of my conceptualization
Yeah.
of what's happening. Because so EMDR is a trauma treatment
Mm-hmm.
method. And it's one model out of many trauma models, but it's like the one that's most well known right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of trending. And they all kind of work the same way. When you have trauma, you like how much do you want me to go into this? How much
As much as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you a basic synopsis of like what happens when trauma is created
Thank
in the
you.
brain.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I still don't understand fully where that comes from.
Yeah, and you have to kind of understand what trauma is in the brain to understand what it is that we're doing when we're trying to treat it.
Yeah.
So we're getting information all the time into our brains, right? Through our like brain stem and our like lower like limbic system.
Yeah.
And you've got my favorite part of the brain, the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that I think of as kind of a secretary that's going through all the information and deciding like which pieces of information are junk mail
Mm-hmm.
and which ones are like information we need to send to the thinking part of the brain. Like we need to think about this some more and figure out what to do with it and process it. These things we can just ignore. And then once in a while, you've got pieces of information that's like, okay, a bomb threat came through the secretary. And the secretary doesn't even go to its boss, the thinking part of the brain, and just goes into action, which is be when it turns on that fight, flight, freeze
Yeah.
response, that trauma response.
That makes sense.
That
Why
all
would
makes
it have
sense,
to
right?
make it? Why would it have to elevate to an executive decision when it knows what the response should
Absolutely.
be? Right.
Yeah. So the problem is that's how the amygdala works, except the secretary is not very smart and it's very anxious. And this is for very good reasons, because for survival reasons, we need to be very, very sensitive to danger. We don't need to be sensitive to positive things in our life. We have to be sensitive to danger.
Okay.
So if you, let's see, go fun and go. If a bear starts running after you and starts chasing after
You
you,
said go fun and then thought of the worst thing in the
That's
world.
trauma.
Like,
It's trauma.
okay.
So I'm going fun trauma, not like
like that's
abuse
freaking
things.
terrifying.
Less triggering.
Okay,
kinds of
cool. I was like,
Okay, so a bear is chasing after you, and you are able. Your amygdala turns on your flight response, and you go up a tree. And this bear ate too many meals and can't climb up there after you, and you barely escape. But man, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
Right? You barely survived.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so your amygdala is not just going to be on the lookout for bears in the future. It was traumatized. So now it's highly sensitive to any information that is going to allow you to predict if that situation is going to happen again, if that bear is coming back.
Right.
That might be things like a growling sound that sounds similar to a bear. It might be something like the smell of pine because you were in a pine forest.
Dude, this is cool.
Right?
Yeah.
It might be even a temperature that's similar to the temperature in which the bear came after you.
Mm-hmm.
All of these different pieces of information, your like very anxious secretary is now going to say all of these things are like, we need to be as prepared as possible, as quickly as possible. And so instead of thinking about this, like, oh, smell of pine, there could be a bear, let's just go ahead and do that fight, flight, freeze. That's how trauma responses happen.
So it's essentially, so your brain creates trauma based on the stimuli it receives and processes it negatively?
No, the trauma happens, and then your brain becomes highly sensitive to any sorts of information that seem related to that trauma in order to protect you, because it just thinks, if I can prepare sooner before the bear happens, If I can just protect myself before that, I have a higher chance of surviving.
Right.
So it becomes
Right.
sensitive to things related to that trauma that aren't actually dangerous because they might lead to something dangerous.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask next. Like, isn't that just completely contextual then? Besides, like getting mauled, like there's certain trauma that like everybody is consensus, like, yeah, no, that is traumatic. But then there's these others that are, for lack of a better term, lower level traumatic experiences that somebody could contextualize as negative and somebody could contextualize as just an event.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And there's
Okay.
all sorts of things like that, right? Like if you've got somebody that grew up in a very dangerous neighborhood and like all their neighbors get broken into and then their house gets broken into, that's not going to be traumatic for that person necessarily. Versus if you've got somebody that feels like they live in a really safe neighborhood
Yeah.
and their house gets broken into, that's going to be traumatic, right? Because trauma is bad things happening that we didn't think were going to happen.
Got you. Okay,
Right?
cool. That's a,
Because we're not prepared for
yeah,
it.
because I feel like nowadays everybody doesn't know how to define that.
Mm-hmm.
So you explained it perfectly. That you're good. You should teach people. Like,
I try.
yeah,
But I do teach people.
yeah, I know.
It's,
I'm kidding, but yeah,
this is the stuff I love.
yeah.
I
No,
do.
it's awesome. I could see it. It's
Yeah.
like I could see how you would deploy this onto children in a very good way.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. Just learning about how the brain works. Because circling back to what we were talking about, you can't teach a robot trauma, but it can understand based on what we know to be trauma what to avoid.
Right.
So and that's all AI is doing, is just pulling from human experiences.
Yeah.
And then making a 1 or 0 based off of that.
So trauma treatment then
Yeah.
is not trying to get rid of the fear of the bear. It's trying to help people be able to go into the forest again without feeling like there has to be a bear.
Right.
Like, if you have that in our example, you don't want to never be able to smell pine again.
Right, literally.
Because most of the time, there's not any bears just because there's the smell of pine.
So you're getting them back to 0?
We're getting them back to 2 things. Mm-hmm. Not being highly sensitive to stimuli that are not related specifically to a danger.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we're helping the brain to feel more prepared and capable of surviving something traumatic in the future.
Right.
Because that's the other part of trauma, right? Trauma is the bad things that happen when we don't expect them to happen and we don't feel prepared for them.
Yeah.
So if you can also help your brain become more resilient and help it reframe itself not as a victim but a survivor,
okay,
then you're less likely to become traumatized in the future.
Wow. Dude, I learned so much. I just went to school.
There you go. So EMDR is I help clients go back through traumatic memories without the fight, flight, freeze response. And we do that over and over and over. So the eye movements that you might see in videos, or like you might hold buzzers that go back and forth, those are really, like, people say, oh, it helps make new neural connections. It's really a thing that's just calming. It helps for regulation.
Yeah.
Regulating the emotions. Because if we can keep our bodies calm while we expose ourselves to things that are a little scary,
mm-hmm.
it helps reprogram the amygdala that these are things that we don't have to react to.
It's calming that secretary.
It's calming the secretary and giving it evidence that, like, oh, see, here's the smell of pine, and look, you're calm and there's no danger. Like, we're in an office, we're okay.
Yeah.
Right? There's that dual focus is what they call it, where you want to be like remembering something or experiencing something in your mind, like a traumatic memory, while also reminding your body that you're in the office and you're experiencing these buzzer things.
You're good at this, dude. Seriously.
It's really kind of fascinating.
That is fascinating.
And fun.
Is that what the MR and ASMR stands for?
The what?
ASMR, or yeah, I think that
ASMR. I don't know what that stands for, but that's like just like satisfying noises or something.
Yeah, right? I didn't know if it was the same thing.
I don't really know much about that and the science behind it.
That's all right. But while I'm looking that up, do you think AI could possibly replace the eye movement of the EMDR?
Yeah, it already does. There's programs you can use to like mimic the eye movement, because the eye movements are really just uh, like helping with that dual focus,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't go, because if you don't have a dual focus where you're grounding yourself in the present moment while you're thinking about a traumatic memory, that's a flashback.
Yeah.
That's re-traumatizing, because
Okay.
then your brain is going to feel like you are actually in the trauma again.
Yeah.
So you got like PTSD, like the experience flashbacks. Those are not like, that's not treatment.
Right.
Having flashbacks is not a treatment,
No.
right? Remembering something while also realizing very consciously that I'm not in that moment can be part of the treatment.
Okay. Yeah. Don't you have to remember it to treat it?
Right. You have to go back through it
Right. Okay.
to reprogram your mind to not be so sensitive to the stimuli. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why, and that's why I love that you have used AI and like are as fascinated with it as
Mm-hmm.
me, because like there's a lot of things that it can fix in it, for lack of a better term. Like I was getting into audiology,
Mm.
essentially, like how to fix ear trauma.
Mm.
So that's why I wanted to ask, like, hey, like, are there programs, and you explained it, like, that can actually help and take out some of the stuff that might just be remedial or might just be archaic, about some of what we do. Well,
I don't know. I know. So there's programs that are like assisting EMDR,
right.
so that like, I don't recommend it, but people have tried to do EMDR themselves.
Yeah,
I don't
that don't even
recommend it because
sound
it's a
right.
little more complicated
That
than
didn't even
people
sound right,
think it
Andy.
is. Um,
Yeah, no, that's like if I were to say that to my wife, she would look at me crazy. She's like, you should
yeah,
not do that to yourself.
like theoretically, but you would have to have a whole lot of knowledge to, and other, I don't know. Not recommended. Don't do it at home. Do
I
not try
can,
this at home.
I can see that being an SNL skit or something like.
Yeah, we don't have enough self-awareness really
Yeah,
to be able to do something like that for ourselves.
right.
We need somebody who's able to kind of assess our state better than our own minds can.
Yeah, somebody who's an educator, or a
Hmm.
therapist,
Hmm.
not your friend from down the street that you get Sonic with.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay,
Now,
dude.
can't do I think that people like friends can help you to process trauma?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Like that's how we always did in the past. We don't need therapists for that. We need people that can listen to each other so that somebody can talk about what happened to them and another person can hold their hand and ground them
mm-hmm.
and be there for them. And you can say your story over and over again with somebody connecting to you and grounding you so that you're not having to be so scared about it. And you can reprogram your brain that way too.
Yeah,
So like throughout most of history, there's been trauma and we haven't needed EMDR. We do need connection. We do need people that are going to listen and be there for us,
right.
which again goes back to, do we actually need as much therapy as we have these days, or do we just need more connection to each other?
Mm. Dude, I love this so much. Dude, Amy, you're awesome. Seriously. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we kind of wrap things up here?
No, I hope that people look into Apogee as an alternative to the whatever education they're doing. We
Yeah,
love working with homeschool families. I'd love to get to know your family and your kids and see if we're a good fit for you.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so check us out and spread that word.
It's exactly what ChatGPT would say.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I am not ChatGPT.
Yeah. So is it at Apogee Gehenna everywhere? Is that where they can find them on
Yeah,
socials?
Facebook, Instagram, apogeehannah.com. Although
Okay.
I do need to talk to Brian about, we need to change the website.
Yeah.
I don't love the website.
Yeah.
but
Well,
I'm
that
posting
can
on
get figured
Facebook,
out.
and if you send a message then on the Instagram or the Facebook, then I'm likely going to be the one
Okay.
responding to
Cool.
that.
Is that where people can find you too? Just Apogee Gehenna?
Yeah, just send a message and we'll get in touch if you want to meet up with me and talk more about what we're doing.
Awesome.
Or if you don't have kids or you do have kids and you this is not a good fit for your family, but you want to help out because you like our mission. I'd love to talk to you about that and just see if you have something you can contribute to our program and
Yeah.
come talk to the kids about some weird thing that you're interested in. We love it.
Awesome. Dude, I love it, AB. I appreciate you, and thank you for reaching back out. Seriously,
Yeah.
I kind of get in a whirlwind sometimes. I'm talking to a lot of people and trying to get stuff done, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like this is a conversation that still needs to be had and shared. So thank you,
Definitely.
seriously,
Yeah. Thank
appreciate you.
you.
You guys know where to find me. I love you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.